You know those eerie stories that get passed around? The ones that make you shiver even if you're skeptical? Well, here's one that happened in the UK, and it's enough to make anyone think twice about their next late-night tube ride. It was a chilly autumn evening in London. The city was winding down after a busy day, with people heading home to the warmth and comfort of their houses. Our story begins with a young woman named Emily, who had just finished a late shift at work. She was tired but relieved to be heading home. Emily reached the station just in time to catch the last tube of the night. As she stepped into the carriage, she noticed it was nearly empty. 5 rows of seats stretched out before her, all unoccupied except for the very last row, where 3 people sat together. Feeling a bit shy and preferring her own space, she chose a seat directly opposite them. As Emily settled into her seat, she pulled out a book from her bag, hoping to lose herself in its pages during the ride home. However, she soon felt an uncomfortable sensation, like someone was watching her. Glancing up, she saw the woman sitting directly across from her, staring intently. The woman's eyes were fixed on Emily, unblinking and piercing. Emily tried to shake off the uneasy feeling. She buried herself in her book, but every time she looked up, the woman's gaze was still locked on her. The atmosphere in the carriage felt increasingly oppressive, the silence heavy and unsettling. The train rattled into the next station, and a man in his 30s stepped on board. He looked around the nearly empty carriage, his eyes darting from Emily to the trio opposite her. Without hesitation, he came over and sat next to her. As the train pulled away from the platform, he leaned in and whispered urgently, "If you know what's good for you, you'll get off at the next station with me." Emily's heart pounded, fear gripping her, but something in his voice made her decide to trust him. When the train reached the next stop, she nervously followed him off the train. Once they were safely on the platform, the man turned to her and said, "Thank God. I didn't mean to scare you, but I had to get you off that train. I'm a doctor, and the woman sitting opposite you is dead." The 2 men on either side were propping her up. Stunned, Emily stared at him, trying to process the horrifying revelation. The man's words echoed in her mind, and she struggled to believe what she had just heard. "Dead?" she whispered, her voice shaking. The doctor nodded solemnly. Together, they immediately called the police, who stopped the train at the next station to investigate. As they waited for the authorities to arrive, the doctor explained how he had noticed the unnatural stillness of the woman and the strange behavior of the men beside her. His medical training had kicked in, and he knew something was terribly wrong. When the police arrived, they questioned Emily and the doctor in detail. The officers boarded the train at the next station and found the woman exactly as the doctor had described. The 2 men were detained for further questioning. The investigation revealed that the woman had indeed been deceased for several hours, and the men had been using her as a cover to avoid detection. The police commended the doctor for his quick thinking and bravery, and Emily for trusting her instincts in such a terrifying situation. The incident made headlines, serving as a chilling reminder of the strange and unsettling things that can happen, even on a seemingly ordinary ride home. Emily's experience on the last train home stayed with her long after that night. She found herself looking over her shoulder more often and being more cautious in her everyday life. The story spread through her friends, family, and colleagues, becoming a modern urban legend, a tale to warn others to stay vigilant and aware of their surroundings. Months passed, but the memory of that night remained vivid for Emily. She often wondered what would have happened if she hadn't trusted the doctor. The idea of those men getting away with such a horrifying act sent shivers down her spine. Emily started volunteering at a local community center, sharing her story with young women and men, urging them to trust their instincts and be aware of their surroundings. Her tale became a beacon of caution, a lesson wrapped in a chilling narrative. So, next time you find yourself on the last train, remember Emily's story. Stay alert, trust your instincts, and be aware of who or what might be sharing the carriage with you. You never know what you might encounter on the journey home.